Gentlemen, sorry I'm a little bit late. It's been a pretty hectic day, if you can imagine. Welcome to studentloanjustice.org. We are the oldest, largest, first, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So I'm going to get right into it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The Supreme Court denied Joe Biden's executive order to cancel $10,000 up to $20,000 in student loan debt today. This whole thing started on our group with our petition at change.org/cancel student loans. And so you can imagine there's a lot of disappointment around the group. But, you know, certainly I should say that I salute everybody and everyone in this group and they're tens of thousands who worked very hard to get this to where it is today. Obviously, we disagree strongly with the Supreme Court case. And if you go to our website after this podcast, you will see our press release on the main page. It was poorly decided. The president does indeed have the power to cancel loans. The Supreme Court found that the HEROES Act did not give him that authority, but you know, the Higher Education Act, Section 1082, gives, going back to 1965, gives the Secretary of Education very broad, very unambiguous authority to waive, compromise, release the debt. So what we have to look for going forward, I suspect strongly that President Biden and the Democrats will give this another shot using the more appropriate law, which is what I just cited. And as a political matter, they will string this out through the next presidential election. I'm usually not wrong in my predictions. Actually, I was predicting that they would affirm this loan cancellation, quite frankly. And so I'm sort of eating my words on that, but I'm typically not wrong. And this is a political gold mine for the Democrats, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that's probably what we can look forward to. But, you know, this whole thing just underscores the importance of getting the constitutional right of bankruptcy returned to these loans, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've said every night for the past 2 or 3 years now that as long as the right of bankruptcy remains gone uniquely from student loans, we can be begging Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whoever the next president is forever to cancel loans. And what we will get is this nonsense like what we're seeing now. That's kind of how that goes, ladies and gentlemen. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution for a very good reason. And this is it. We are like putty in the hands of the Department of Education and its crony contractors, and I would say probably also the colleges, as long as this bedrock protection remains uniquely stripped from us. So I hope that you come away with that. I should say we did just a ton of interviews today. We did literally, I think the best interview I've ever done. Best interview we've ever had. It was a half an hour sit down and we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, guys. We hate the Republicans. We hate the Democrats for different reasons. We probably like the Democrats a little more than the Republicans, but it's good cop, bad cop thing. But we did a fantastic interview today with Fox News. It was actually Fox News Radio. And I will post the link to it in the comments below. It was a deep dive. It was a half an hour interview. Actually, I think it was 22 minutes. I think they edited it down for commercials and stuff like that. But I will post that in the link below, and please give it a listen. There are some good people on the conservative side of the spectrum, guys. I swear to you, there are. So if you have any questions or comments, throw them out now, and I'm very happy to get your reactions to this cancellation Supreme Court verdict. I know a lot of people are disappointed. I'm disappointed. But yeah, so if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. And if I can see them, I will gladly respond to them. We also did an interview. We did a ton of interviews today with CBS Radio, and our members were interviewed on television stations in Houston and a couple of other places. We're going to be having an article come out this Sunday in the Financial Times, where our own Joanna from Florida will be interviewed. But yeah, guys, we came close with this one, but the politics really got in the way. I mean, think about this, guys. And I said this, I think, with this in the CBS interview. Donald Trump canceled student loans twice, or arguably even more than twice, but certainly twice. First, before the pandemic, when there was no national emergency going on, he canceled the debt of tens of thousands of disabled veterans by executive order. And then when the pandemic first hit on, I think, March 20th, Donald Trump canceled a boatload of student loan debt by enacting the first repayment pause, which canceled interest for over 3 years, or nearly, over 3 years, actually well over 3 years. This started with Donald Trump, and there were no lawsuits. There was no protesting. There was no lawsuits. It just kind of went the way that PPP loans went, right? Nobody grumbled. And that was it. It just happened. So the fact that all of a sudden, when Biden does something similar, something extremely similar, we all of a sudden see the Republicans step up. And again, as I said, we're personally a nonpartisan group, guys. We pretty much can't stand either party. And quite frankly, both parties have betrayed us badly. The Republicans have just stabbed us right in the eyeball, and they are going to rue the day. They are going to regret today's Supreme Court decision, make no mistake. 38 million distressed student loan borrowers, 70%. I looked at more recent data with our own Heather in France. And the most recent Pew Research data shows that 70% of student loan borrowers, or at least 70% of everybody who had been to college, whether they graduated or not, identify politically as being either Republican or independent. So the blue-haired liberal snowflake Democrats are a small part of that pie. There are a ton of Republicans and independents. In fact, I'd say the large majority of student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. So the Republicans are going to regret this big time. It was the height of, I don't know what you'd call it, political stupidity. I think that's probably a good word. But again, guys, the upshot of all of this is all of this just underscores the critical importance of us finally getting our bankruptcy rights back. Now, remember, guys, whichever way this court case went, it remains true that these loans are going to be turned back on. And we currently do not have the bankruptcy rights that exist for all other loans in this country. So it is going to get very ugly if we don't get bankruptcy rights back. And that will have a very real and meaningful effect on your life. These are your loans. And nobody wants to file for bankruptcy, and very few people should even have to file when we get the right returned. But as long as bankruptcy remains gone, as long as we don't have that weapon or that tool in our back pocket, we are served up like sheep to the slaughter, to the collection industry. And many years and even decades of very careful observation have shown us that the collection industry is freaking ruthless. So things are more important today than they were yesterday. The importance of us getting our bankruptcy rights returned today are far, far, far more important than they were yesterday. So again, I know a lot of people are disappointed, but honestly, guys, this actually strategically is, I'm just going to say, it's way better for us than if they had done the cancellation. I was predicting they would do the cancellation because they wanted to take all of the energy out of our movement, And by canceling $10,000 or $20,000, that would have taken 20 million people off of the books, the low balance borrowers, the 10,000 or less, or maybe 10 or 20,000 with Pell Grant or less. That would have been 20 million people that would have been freed of their loans. And that would have allowed them to shove the student loan problem down into the bowels of the, public conversation again, which is, I thought, what the swamp wanted. But the swamp really overplayed their hand on this one. They got greedy. And that's going to come back to bite them in the ass, I can tell you, because now instead of only having 20 million people on our side, now we've got 4 million people on our side, and 50 plus million people on our side if you include private student loan borrowers and co-signers. So anyways, guys, and I know this sounds really perverse, but from my perspective, where I sit, it was a really good day for us. And to those of you who have $10,000 or less in student loans, I definitely do feel for you. I feel your pain. I do. But, if you have 10,000 or less in student loans, chances are you probably aren't on this group. And I'm not saying that your problem isn't significant, but, I'm thinking of people who owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, who have repaid perhaps tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on often what began as student loan debt in the low tens of thousands of dollars. These are the people who've been worst hurt. And these are the people for whom this Biden student loan cancellation gimmick, and it was a gimmick in my humble opinion, these are the people that I'm concerned about. And these are the people who are on our group more than many. So, we have quite a few comments here. I'm going to try and just rattle through them, guys. Christina Witten's here with us. Hey, Christina from Arizona. She says, here with you, received a call this morning after the Supreme Court decision from Arizona House Rep Debbie Lesko's office. Oh, I shouldn't say that on air, should I? They got one of her messages, finally gave Christina their legislative meeting scheduler. Good. This is important, guys. We're asking all of our members, including and especially you sitting there. No wallflowers in this group. This is a working, fighting group. It always has been, always will be. We're asking all of our members to get meetings with both of your senators and your House representative. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans. We need to have a sit down with them. Get a meeting with them. Bring us into the meeting. Maybe you want to bring your state chapter leader into the meeting, and you can go to our website and find your state chapter. Bring me onto the meeting. By all means, I'm very happy to talk to these people. It's what I do for some kind of a living, but it's what I'm good at, certainly. So you can give them my name and contact info, Alan Collins, phone number, area code 202-594-1120, email Alan, ALAN, at studentloanjustice.org. We will come into the meeting, and we will do most or all of the talking if we have to. But it's very important that we get into meetings with all 535 members of Congress, guys. I would love to get bankruptcy returned by September 1st, dudes. I wouldn't say that's like a super hard deadline, but guys, the loans are going to restart September 1st. So it's a pretty strong deadline there. Christina also says, and we had another article today reminding people we need our rights back, and time we start our protesting, boycotting, and writing to financial institutions, Department of Education, demanding they voluntarily return, I think you mean to say, our rights. Yes, good. Glad to hear it, Christina. You know that we've gotten so much media coverage over this in the past couple of weeks. It makes my head spin. I can't keep track of all the articles. We were featured top story at The Guardian and just many other places over the past several weeks. So Derek Williams says, I'm not surprised at all. The system is rigged against the common man. Yes, Derek. I think that really is the takeaway here, guys. I look at both parties and I see the Democrats who blatantly betrayed us on returning bankruptcy last session, when they had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. I see this Supreme Court case today where the vicious little snake-like Republican minions in and around Washington, D.C. somehow pulled this extremely flimsy Supreme Court case out of their ass. Thanks, Samuel Alito. Hope you had a good time fishing in Alaska. So you know, a billionaire, Paul Singer, had Samuel Alito on a luxury fishing trip in Alaska, and Mr. Singer has funded initiatives who have submitted amicus briefs for the student loan cancellation cases in question today. Hey, Lisa Ansel from California. Hey, Lisa. Lisa says, a major conservative Fox News contributor just called for the return of bankruptcy protections back to student loan debt. Yes, that was us, Lisa. If you were listening to Fox News Radio all day today, you probably, in fact, I'm pretty positive you heard us on the Fox News Rundown, which is like the little 1-minute news blurb that they do every half an hour on Fox News Radio. And maybe that's what you heard. But if you look at the podcast that Fox News just released maybe a half an hour ago, you can hear that interview that I talked about at the top of this broadcast. That's us. And I have to say, I'm stunned. It was literally, I think, probably the most meaningful conversation I have had with the mainstream media about bankruptcy and student loans to date. So, and remember, guys, if you're new to the group, I know you're sitting there probably going, I don't want to file for bankruptcy. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. But we've got to get the leverage bankruptcy back on our side, guys. Unless and until we get the leverage, like nobody should even have to file, or very few people. Without many or maybe even anyone having to file for bankruptcy, when we get the right return, they're going to have to cancel student loans very broadly, very meaningfully, very deeply. Maybe according to each individual situation, I don't know. But that's the way it works. That's the way the real world of credit works with all other debt instruments, with credit cards, with you name it. The threat of bankruptcy is enough to compel a floor of good-faith loan administration. And that lies at the core of everything, whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy. And quite frankly, the other student advocacy groups, I haven't had time to see what they're saying today, but those groups have been eerily and ominously and suspiciously silent on the bankruptcy issue the entire time they've been in existence. In fact, a couple of the groups, I'm thinking of first and foremost, student debt crisis, they have gone out of their way to fight against returning bankruptcy rights to student loans. Shame on them. And we've seen similar in recent weeks from the Debt Collective. And, you know, the Debt Collective does millions of dollars in transactions with the student debt collection industry. The student debt collection industry's wildest dreams was to see a mass payment stoppage, a mass payment refusal in the continued absence of bankruptcy rights. And their dream is about to come true. So I'll let those other groups defend themselves. But what I can tell you guys is that this group right here is ground zero for the actual, honest, not corrupted, normal people only. I'm a defaulted student loan borrower, by the way. Normal people fighting the right fight in the right way to actually get real student loan justice. And you heard that here first. And I truly hope that you will spread the word about this group going forward, because we can't count on the media, guys. We get lucky from time to time like we did today. But this is all about people, guys. We're a nation of people before we're a nation of laws. And that's good, because all we got is people, dudes. We don't have $1 million budget with a marketing department where we can buy media or somehow pay money and coerce media to report what we want. No. We can't do any of that stuff. What we have are people, are you and me and Lisa and Derek and Joanna, and the people who are impacted by this. So we've got to fight. And Tiffany Klein's with us tonight. Tiffany Klein says, so if everyone files, they'll crash and burn. Yes, Tiffany, that's right. When they return bankruptcy rights, the president will have and the Secretary of Education will have a very real problem to confront. There will be 10 million people who will be compelled to file for bankruptcy if nothing else is done. And in an average year, less than 1 million people file for bankruptcy for any reason, for all reasons. So, President Biden or whoever the next president is, when bankruptcy is returned, they're going to be faced with a choice. You can either be the president who presided over the largest wave of bankruptcy filings in our nation's history, or you can actually improve this lending program and force it to behave with a modicum of good faith. And oh, by the way, you're probably going to have to cancel some debt in a very widespread way. So this is inevitable, guys. The loans will not be paid. Before this pandemic, 3 out of 5 of all borrowers were not paying on their loans. In my best estimation of the $1.7 trillion outstanding in federal student loan debt, probably 1.3 or 4 of that debt, it's uncollectible. It's garbage. It's bad debt. It's debt that if it had been any other type of loan, it would have been written off many years ago. That's how the real world works. And that is going to be what has to happen when, but only when, and not until we get our constitutional right of bankruptcy returned. Very important, ladies and gentlemen. It's the key to everything. So yeah, right. Okay, good. I answered your question, Tiffany. I'm glad. So guys, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of your comments tonight, and I apologize. I'm trying to keep our live streams to less than 20 minutes. I think I've gone quite a bit over tonight, but we got this, guys. Honestly, dudes, I'm Scout's honor. I feel more invigorated today than I did yesterday. If they had approved this loan cancellation, half of everybody with student loans would go away. The press would be like, okay, we're done with student loans. Congress would be like, okay, we're done with student loans. And we would be back in the wilderness, wandering around like Moses in the desert for who knows how long. So that didn't happen. And quite frankly, and I'm sorry for those of you who owe less than $10,000 and you're disappointed, but I think that is I would say that's a win for us, guys. I truly would. So, and Christina says, this is actually good because I think Supreme Court inadvertently just threw the ball into our court and our favor. Finally. Yes. I've been hoping that a critical mass would be developing around this movement soon. And I think this Supreme Court terribly wrongly decided judgment ruling is probably going to make that happen. Now, July 4th is coming up, guys, and I leave you all to your own devices. I've said many times, in my humble opinion, it's not only unwise, it's unpatriotic to ever pay another dollar on your federal student loans, certainly as long as the right of bankruptcy remains gone from the loans. And, I personally, I'm going to buy some fireworks, maybe even tonight. I might just head down there this weekend anyways. And I'm going to find some creative ways to blow up my student loans in a safe and sane manner. And I'll probably make a video of it. I hope you do too. We don't have to put up with this bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. The founding fathers are on our side. 40 or 50 million people are on our side, probably more. And good faith and common sense and just everything that's good is on our side, guys. This is lending tyranny, and we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps to fight this fight. So I hope this was your wake-up call, because as I said, things will get ugly going forward. This is not going to be a smooth ride ahead. It's going to be a rough road, and we need fighters on this group. We need workers and fighters on this group. And if you're new to the group, the minimum I would say is go to our website, do the past 2 weeks or maybe month worth of our daily actions. It will help. We have 1.4 million people in this group, ladies and gentlemen, on paper. I don't know where they are, but they're there. We have 1.2 million people on our petition, 200,000 people across our other platforms. This is now officially your problem, and you can't unhear that. We on this group, studentloanjustice.org, we are the tip of the spear in this battle, guys. The other groups are out to lunch or worse. We're it, guys. And so take some pride in that fact. And I think Joanna and Christina and Lisa and Tiffany and many others that I've seen out there fighting in the trenches, they will tell you it feels very good to fight this fight. So take heart, guys. I'll be back on Sunday, maybe earlier if there's a reason to be. Stay tuned. Have a great weekend. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everyone.